Have you noticed this shift happening too? Men wielding chainsaws over their heads. Dude bros of Doge running into government departments and saying that people are fired. So many bros celebrating Andrew Tate going to America and then going back to Romania where, funnily enough, it's really hard to be able to get a conviction on him, isn't it? Many court delay tactics are happening there.
You know, I'm not convicted of any crimes. I'm a free person who has not been convicted of anything, just as the same as you are.
So many companies gleefully removing their woke DEI policies so they're no longer forced to have to include everybody. Zuckerberg's transformation from this pale dude with far too much sunscreen on, or this guy that was like cowering in a court, to letting his hair grow out, wearing a gold chain and going on Joe Rogan, and also suddenly just dropping this video which his staff weren't even aware of that he was going to be doing, saying that they're getting rid of fact checking and that so many more things are going to be allowed on the site now.
So we're gonna get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse.
Men win again. And yes, we control your bodies.
These rowdy riots happening in Minecraft movie screenings because of this chicken jockey trend, which the director of the movie even endorses.
It's weird when you're having too much fun and the cops get called. I'm just glad people are making memories with their friends and families.
I feel so sorry for all of those minimum wage workers. The US government targeting and removing inclusive language from so many documents from all across the judicial branches. As Rebecca Fielding Miller, a USCD public health scientist, said, "If I can't say the word women, I can't tell you that an abortion ban is going to hurt women." She also noted it was illuminating to see which words hadn't been flagged as problematic. "I guess a word that's not on here is man, and another word I don't see on here is white. So I guess we'll see what's going on with white men and what they need." Famous sports stars and all sorts of comedians in Australia making IPV jokes on stage to raucous applause.
Sometimes need a good smack in the face. I'd like to say hitting women in an RSL is completely wrong and unacceptable. There's way too many cameras in that place and I was very fucking stupid on his
And Harvey Weinstein's retrial is starting up again, and we're in a very different environment to Me Too. In fact, a lot of this is a backlash to Me Too, as we can see from comment sections. And guess who is part of propagating the idea that Harvey Weinstein is actually innocent? Candace Owens, but also now, of course, Joe Rogan.
It's crazy. So I can't believe I'm on Harvey Weinstein's side. Right?
And I have to keep on coming into the editing room because it's just been revealed that a game was released on Steam, which is specifically about incest, where the developers said it's a 3D choice-driven adult visual novel with a huge focus on incest and male domination. After your mother's affair shatters your family, you take on a new role, not to fix what's broken, but to claim her for yourself, unveil her deepest secrets, subdue her, and make all women yours. I know the game's been pulled from Steam in Australia, but the fact it was even developed and then even made available on Steam is highly disturbing to me. Oh, and we can't forget systematically removing bodily autonomy from people with uteruses, can we? Having less control over your body means that you get to be more reliant on men. As Chud says, this is all part of, we are making things right for us again, boys. What boys though, really? For forgotten ones like me? And is this actually helping men or boys or hurting them? Because we know it's definitely hurting women and minorities, especially the people that are bringing up the ways it hurts people, especially the people that are bringing up the statistics. Oh my goodness, how dare you? But wait, I thought that facts don't care about your feelings. More on that later. Now, this is the first in a two-part series, so subscribe for the next one because I didn't want to make you have to sit through a 2-hour video. And for my lovely forest critters that support me on Patreon, you already have the extended, uncensored, director's cut and ad-free version of this video.
Really enjoying the view here.
You going to Campbell's bachelor party?
Yeah, I want to be there before they tie an anchor on his neck and...
She'll probably be assigned to one of us.
And she'll know what she's in for. Besides, you gotta let them know what kind of guy you are. Then they'll know what kind of girl to be.
Being a man, being a young man, this time right now can't be easy.
Why? Because we can't harass girls anymore?
No. Well, yeah.
It's like we're living through this glorification of this boys will be boys attitude. As if there's a regression to frat boy mentality. This gleeful stomping on everyone else to create this boys rule club.
This really isn't fair.
We really couldn't care.
People, well, we know who, will be saying that I'm doing a gender wars thing by coming out with this video. Well, if guys would kindly stop harassing, stalking, being violent towards and unaliving women, then I wouldn't have to have these sort of conversations, would I? Now, I gotta say it right now and early like I always do, I do not hate men. I do not think it is all men that are doing this. I don't believe all men are bad, and I don't believe that all men are trying to hurt other people. I genuinely believe, like I said in my broification video, that most guys are actually curious about what they can do to make things better and safer for everybody. The issue comes in when guys are going along with all of this misogyny. You know, rather than standing up against the guys that are saying all of this stuff, rather than calling out your mates or your colleagues when they're saying sexist, racist, homophobic remarks, saying to your mates it's not okay to make IPV or jokes, and just shrugging off the very large issues of the world like, I just don't really care about politics. And worst of all, when these dude bros are saying that the accusation is worse than going through the assault itself. And that mindset is strangely increasingly being validated.
It's a tough time for guys, yeah. You were afraid to shake dudes' hands. I remember that. You were afraid to even be, like, it was scary. And you would try to speak up for friends that you didn't think did something or that you did, and then, like, you would just be back online.
Bros, we are in the stages of a censorship wave. It's women's fault that men are driven to rape in the first place because they're the ones that say no to sex. And you know what? It's affecting the youth. Statistically, we are seeing a slump backwards. Traditionally, younger people tend to have more progressive beliefs than older people. However, Gen Z today are holding more boomer beliefs. The term Zoomer takes on a whole new meaning now, doesn't it? A global study was conducted which showed men and women belonging to Gen Z are more divided than those of any other generation on key questions about feminism, gender roles, and women's rights. The study, based on a survey of nearly 24,000 people across 30 nations, has some surprising results. And I may need to retract my boomer comment actually based on the results we're about to see. These phrases were put to the participants and they had to say if they agree with it or not. A man who stays home to look after children is less of a man. The percentage of men agreeing was 12% of baby boomers, 18% of Gen X, 25% millennial. I'm disappointed in my comrades. 28% Gen Z, and women also answered. Sadly, yes, this is falling into a strict gender binary when it comes to this survey. 9% of baby boomers, 14% of Gen X, 22% millennials, 19% of Gen Z. Yikes, women are holding on to aggressive views too? Do you agree with the statement, we have gone so far in promoting women's equality that we are discriminating against men? The percentage that agreed? Men, 44% of boomers, 51% of Gen X, 56% millennials, 57% of Gen Z. Women, 29% of boomers, 33% of Gen X, 39% of millennials, 36% of Gen Z. Y'all, no wonder the younger straights are not finding happy relationships if there is this kind of a divide. My goodness. And also, I'm going to be having to make a video addressing the women here, aren't I?
Oh my god, I don't believe it!
I think I need to.
I mean, that's just like the rules of feminism.
Globally, we still live under patriarchal rule. Look at all of the people in positions of power in Parliament, or House of Congress, or whatever it's called in your country. Look at how many CEOs, board members, and people in high management positions are men. And even for the same jobs, men still earn more than women. So categorically, men are not discriminated against. But I digress, let's get back to the survey because this is very interesting. Men are being expected to do too much to support equality. Percentage of men that agreed, 44% of baby boomers, 54% of Gen X, 57% of millennials, 60% of Gen Z. Women, 31% of baby boomers, 37% of Gen X, 41% of millennials, 38% of Gen Z. This is the one I am keenly interested in focusing on. And this chart shows how much tension there is between men and women today, based on people's perceptions. South Korea ranked at the highest, aka the worst spot, which we know from the 4B movement and how sexist South Korean culture still very much is not a surprise. Yet they also produce the most romantic dramas. Go figure. I know that some of you are Polish, yet you are ranked in the best spot, aka the lowest, with 25% believing this. However, from my discussions with you, you haven't really gone telling me that things are great when it comes to equality there. In fact, you've told me how scarily traditional things are there, and how you deal with a great many hurdles of being taken seriously as a woman, trans, non-binary person at all, heck, especially when it comes to reproductive health. You've said it's really hard from business to personal relationships to workplaces to medical care. But hey, you tell me, I'm actually really keen. Did this capture things properly? Or was there potentially more of a skew into thinking everything's fine because we like things falling into traditional roles? Even though we know not everybody loves that. Yet most strange of all from this study is that a majority of people from each country said that achieving gender equality is important to them personally. The highest being in India is 78%, And no shocker here, the lowest being in South Korea, because once again, like I said, sexist society, sadly. Not everyone thinks it that way, but it's how the systems are definitely set up there. And that lowest statistic was at 52%. Granted, it's still a majority, but only slightly. As this study clearly states, this divide is often fueled by politicians and media who capitalize on a zero-sum game narrative, framing the advancement of women as the cause of broader societal grievances, such as the decline of well-paid, secure jobs. What the hell has been happening in recent years that it's the younger generations in this survey that are shown to have the most backwards views? I like to call it the broification effect, where rather than addressing the problems in society to make sure that everybody can feel safe, included, and equitably treated, they'd rather society feel like a boys' locker room, like a smoky boardroom in Mad Men.
I'm not going to let a woman talk to me like this. This meeting is over.
Where men and boys do what they want, they hold the power, they get joy from making others, especially women, feel lesser than. Whether professionally, sexually, or just making them feel unsafe when they're around them. Gives them a little kick, like I hold the power. Actually, I'm convinced that bullying is their version of fun. Even to the point of mocking each other if one of them succeeds in order to maintain the existing hierarchical structure. You know, rather than having real friendship and building each other up. It's like Barney's playbook and the bro code have come to life to support the main asset, patriarchal masculinity. These are the catcallers, the men that mock their peers if they don't perform masculinity well enough. The current president of the United States of America. Quick test for you all. When I ask you, who is this guy? What do you see? Let's go over to Chud over here. Who's this? That is the Supreme Gentleman. He lived the dream. He died a warrior. You see a hero rather than a murderer, with him being granted the title the Supreme Gentleman by his many, many admirers in the manosphere. Little fun fact for you, the girl that he was like really pent up about and like really, really wanted, she didn't even remember him at all. And I think that's how he should go down in history. What's really concerning is there are a number of men who have been inspired by his actions as part of the incel rebellion, as is gruesomely detailed in Laura Bates' book, Men Who Hate Women. And she has spent years diving into the many different corners and variants of the manosphere. It's like the manosphere has been leeching out from online into our real lives, as the boys who grew up watching all of this stuff and reading these forums and being part of all of this, they're now of the age where they can have a bit of power. They now have a vocabulary to be able to use. They now are able to intimidate people more. They now are able to incite violence. And they're also able to vote.
Just chug it.
Oh my god, dude.
Lucky, we don't do it for the taste, we do it for the high tea and BDE.
No, girls aren't into super jacked guys, by the way.
Really? What are they into, Piper? Gender goblins that tuck their between their legs like that?
Why do you have to be so... Stop!
Yum.
These are guys who feel discriminated against because apparently DEI means that those people who get the jobs who just so happen to be women or black or people of colour, that obviously means that they are not skilled for the job because they're going for DEI over merit. Whereas that hasn't been proven in any of the cases. But in their minds, they are now taking back the power for the bros, specifically the white bros. We need to be honest about this here. Because a white man is seen as the ideal man, the ultimate default character. There are many variants, as is discussed in Laura Bates' book, as FD Signifier has also talked about in his many videos diving into the manosphere himself. But ultimately, the hierarchy remains in place, that a cis-het, able-bodied white man is the kind of ideal patriarch. And especially with this weird fantasy towards the 1950s, which I'll be getting to next time, it's like a Don Draper character, even though Don was actually one of the most miserable people you could have ever come across. And it doesn't matter how sexualized black men get, like Foreign Men in a Foreign Land has talked about, they're ultimately seen as like a threat and someone who is lower, quote, than these white men, at least from what they view it as, because it's like, ooh, how dare you get a white girl? I should be able to get them. There's been this bubbling of resentment held by white men in particular, and it's like it's just burst at this point, especially since Trump got elected. None of us should be surprised that the dude bros that Elon Musk hired for Doge are obedient Gen Z men between the ages of 19 to 24. After reading all of these books, I'm certainly not surprised.
These are, a lot of them are just kids, you know, they're just trying to help out, and they're very talented. They could get jobs for millions of dollars a year.
I've spoken in the past how brocialists have used socialist language to be able to manipulate women into getting with them, but then actually treating them like trash. However, they're able to still maintain a good image, but that's been falling apart. But now these dude bros don't care if they've got a good image or not. Actually, it's a power move to be disliked because it shows that you're a free thinker, that you're going against the grain more. And after all, since trying to appeal to women and minorities didn't work because, quote, nothing makes you happy, we're just gonna do exactly what we want to do. No. These females are hysterical. There are 3 reasons why this is not true. 1, these are small fringe groups. 2, they barely have any offline impact. 3, they're just some guys. They don't pose any real threat. You're just trying to paint all men as bad. You're a man hater. If the manosphere threat isn't real, then why were there 70,000 men on Telegram sharing messages, tips, tricks, photos, and videos on how to their wives and girlfriends? Why were they selling date on there? The reporter who did this work is German, and annoyingly, videos of are not illegal in Germany. Why the hell not? They exchange ideas about the best way to get women unconscious, ask for tips there, and they upload what they do with women. And I haven't heard of a single video in history where the woman said, I want that. A user said in one of their channels that his image of his unconscious girlfriend had gained around 75,000 views. The user added, she's a star and she doesn't even know it. But surely the police will have sorted it, right? In repeated attempts to obtain answers, the journalist said German authorities remained evasive, that they did not know whether criminal investigations into the Telegram network happened. It's just that things aren't reported on, especially since we live in a racist, ableist society. It's only a few white women that you rarely hear about when these tragedies happen. 1 in 4 women in the UK will face domestic abuse. And each year, 85,000 will experience rape or attempted. And I know just how many men are concerned with the whole accusation thing because it's a real issue, you know, all of these false reports happening all the time, though statistically proven wrong. But you know, it can ruin a man's life, right? Well, this should make you feel better because less than 1% of reported rapes lead to conviction. So don't be worried, and it actually gets talked about in the manosphere all the time, that if you know what you're doing, you're never gonna get caught. Because why should people believe victims, right? It turns more into victim blaming if you have the utter pleasure of having to go to the police and then having to relive it. And plus, does it really ruin a man's life? It was just an accusation. He didn't even get locked up. The victim, oh my goodness, they're the one that has to live with this permanent scarring that happens to them, physically or emotionally, or both. But where's the concern for them, huh? No, the whole concern is about the accusation, this villainous accusation, because all the women hold the power against men, and women are just out to get men. No, like, the thing that we want is to not have to go through that. And you know what? The only people that need to actually be nervous and actually worry about what they've done or what they tend to do are the people that, you know, hold on to the whole pickup artist line of, what is it? Ignoring a woman's rejection, that's creating space for her to make a new choice. Literal pickup artistry wording, word for word, verbatim there. I'm just going to leave the fries consent thing on the screen for everybody here as a little refresher. As data shows from this global 2023 study on homicide by the UN, homicidal violence has a clear gender dimension. While in 2021 most homicides worldwide were committed against men and boys, 81%, women and girls were disproportionately affected by homicidal violence in the home. They represent approximately 54% of all victims of killings in the home and 66% of all victims of intimate partner killings. Roughly 4 in 10 killings of the women and girls do not have enough information on victim-perpetrator relationship, and the actual number of women victims of intimate partner violence and family-related homicide could be much higher. The truth is, it's men that are committing the violent crimes against all genders. Yes, male-on-male violence too. This is a men's issue. This is all not a women's issue. This is a men's issue, which you are making into our problem. Yeah, but what about the sad guys, Bryony? Don't you care about them? Like, there's a loneliness crisis going on for men. But I thought the manosphere was there to help you though, right? Like, it's the whole bro, like, looking out for each other, building your community thing there. Isn't that what it's meant to be about? However, so many of you kept on telling me about the 80-20 rule in my adolescence video. Let's just have a look at some of your comments read out by Chud here. I mean, the 80-20 rule is true, particularly on dating apps. Sorry, was there a source for that? Actually, the 80-20 rule is an optimistic take. When you take a look at statistics from online dating apps which were designed for homosexual men for a quick get-up, I even have a six-pack and I'm fairly attractive, but I haven't got any dates on those apps. One of you commented like the best thing. Perhaps it's your odious personality. The scream I scrumped. Thank you so much for brightening my day. It's not 80-20, more like 90% of women are attracted to the top 5% of men. Top 5% of men? Okay, source, please. Give me the source. Like this, my meal is dry. The Pareto rule due to female hypergamy is real. Yes, 80% of women only date/sleep with 20% of men. Dating app profile data and other studies show this. If that's not true, then please make a video on it. Oh, shots fired, no sources cited, yeah, you have to do the work. It's the Pareto rule, but okay, sure. Oh, you want me to do all of the work and research to try and prove against something that you say is just true without giving any sources? Huh, yeah, no, I want you to go and do the research, please. And just as... Oh. Hello, handsome.
Hey, sweets.
5 minutes later.
Love you, my sweets.
We'll have chicken parmigiana tonight, okay?
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah. Okay.
Love you, bye.
Alright, love you too, bye. Well, obviously I'm not creating a lonely single man because that was just my husband that was calling me then. Oh, and Adrian, despite what you were saying in the comments that I was deleting your replies or that YouTube was blocking you, I went and checked on my held tab because that's what us creators get to do because we have the pleasure of reading through all of your comments and seeing all of the nasty, vile, horrible things that you'd like to say to me. And I didn't find any of your replies in there. I didn't see these long paragraphs that you'd come up with. What I personally think you did was you were saying that you'd said all of this stuff and that you were saying that you had this great argument, but you didn't actually do anything. You didn't actually say anything, but you wanted to play the victim and say that I was silencing you because I'm such a mean, nasty woman. Or you could do what this guy did and try and go on this lengthy diatribe saying all of these sources, which actually none of which prove the 80-20 rule exists. Because there is no scientific consensus that the 80-20 rule is a thing. I just want everybody to think right now. Think about the people that you come across in your everyday life. Think about the people that you see at the supermarket. Think about the people that you see in the world. Are women in real life only with model, beautiful men? No. Is it possibly more because the women that you deem worthy of pursuit are not interested in you? Possibly. I mean, Pete Davidson certainly gets plenty of hot women to go out with him over the years, and he's not what any alpha males would consider to be an alpha male when it comes to the way that he looks, right? I can't believe I have to say this, but attraction comes down to so much more than just looks. If you're spouting misogynistic stuff, she ain't gonna be interested, my guy.
The ugly ones are all mixed up with the other ones. I need you to catalog them or something.
But we punch monsters.
If you're acting like you're a socialist but you treat women like dirt, she ain't interested, my guy.
I just don't understand why you wouldn't hook up with me.
Hooking up with you would be an empty experience.
And how would you know that?
Because I know. Because you're soulless. Sad.
And then men will come and say that all women want is men's money and there's all hypergamy stuff and oh my goodness, the way that I want to make a video about gold diggers, there's actually 2 videos I really want to make about gold diggers, but we don't have time to get into that today. But no matter what proof I can give to you, there's always going to be some other excuse as to why women are completely against men and why you're the victim and never able to actually be in a relationship with a woman that you want to be with. But you know what? There are actually so many women that would love to be in a relationship with a nice guy. No, not you. Go away. No. Going back to adolescence, online discourse that the guy that played Jamie Oliver was not unattractive enough to be a real incel. He wasn't fat, ugly, or unattractive, so there's no way that he could be an incel. How many of the famous manosphere dudes are actually not attractive though? And remember what Bryony said when she was questioning Jamie? She wasn't there to validate him, but he thought that he was ugly, and that was why he was at a disadvantage, because guess what? This had been warped in his mind. And let's get on to that, shall we? Because this was discussed in Laura Bates' book, Men Who Hate Women. When men and boys go into these manosphere communities, they're often asking each other, like showing pictures of themselves and genuinely asking each other for advice, what they can do to make themselves be more attractive, what they can do to up their level, what they can do in order to be able to get girls. As she writes, the responses are a curious amalgamation of brutal honesty, ruthless mockery, and a sympathetic support. They range from brotherly pep talks and grooming advice to cutting insults and recommendations to give up altogether. Some incels seem to view their online world as a genuine community, united in the face of common struggles. Others see it as the opportunity to create the greatest possible hurt to other men, perhaps as a means of easing their own pain. You know, things like, oh, just give up, mate, there's no hope for you, oh, might as well just get a rope, insinuating. And actually, on the topic of suicide, that is something that is incredibly prolific throughout the manosphere. How is this a place to build friendship and community when most of it is actually based around hatred towards women, plotting rape or revenge against women, or self-loathing and telling each other to go kill themselves? It's women's fault that men are driven to rape in the first place because they're the ones that say no to And you'll also notice in my videos, I don't go after people's looks because I know what it's like dealing with body dysmorphia. I know what it's like absolutely hating everything about yourself. I've dealt with EDs. Simply put, if I don't like you, you can bet your ass it's because of who you are as a person as opposed to anything as superficial as your looks, which I personally think is far more damning. But even after I say all of this, I don't think that the manosphere is the real problem here. It is absolutely terrible, yes, but it's not the cause in my opinion. I think every girl is a type of they're fussy these days. They don't give guys like me a chance. It starts at home and it starts young. As explored in this book, She Is Not Your Rehab by Matt Brown with Sarah Brown, Matt not only witnessed IPV at home, but he also faced severe physical and abuse at home too. And he's worked with many men over the years to break the cycles and discover their own version of masculinity, which isn't based on domination. As has been shown time and again, men who have been exposed to IPV as children are more likely to repeat those behaviors as an adult. Boys exposed to IPV are also more likely to approve of violence, to believe that violence improves one's reputation, and to justify their own violent behavior. A history of violence in childhood is a significant predicator of IPV perpetration, and male perpetrators from violent backgrounds have been found to have greater hostility and negative attitudes towards women. Can we not see that all of this is directly hurting boys who then turn into men, who then go and keep on this cycle going? It doesn't help them, it hurts them themselves. Anytime that guys say, what about men? You don't care about men. My dude, I would not spend all this time reading all of these books, making these videos, unless I cared about men. No child should have to witness IPV, and no person should have to fear male violence in their home. It is good and healthy to recognize these emotions and be allowed to express them in a healthy way. But it's what's behind anger that's the important thing, because anger tends to be like this mask which is in front of something else, whether it's hiding shame, humiliation, fear. And as we can see, combining only acknowledging anger as an emotion men and boys are allowed to experience, whilst also being fed this toxic masculinity through the manosphere via these algorithms, it makes for a very toxic concoction. And the dangers playing out on our news screens today, and on adolescents by the way, guess what the UK has decided? They're going to be showing this show to all of the kids in high school to, help them deal with all of this stuff. And it's like, are you serious? This is not even an educational show. This is a show which has been horribly misinterpreted, sorry to say it, but sadly by so many men. I mean, hell, so many people, including women, aren't willing to recognize that Jamie's dad has anger issues, despite it being prevalent throughout the entire show. Getting kids to watch a very emotional show is not the cure. Having a conversation, absolutely, but teachers aren't really equipped with all of the skills, all of the resources that they need for this. We can't be expecting these poorly paid, under-resourced teachers to be doing all of this work. Well, whose responsibility is it then, Bryony? It's men's responsibility. This is a male violence issue. It's a man's issue. As frustrating it is for me to admit, men who exist in these spaces, who thrive off this messaging, they don't listen to people like me, they don't listen to women, they don't listen to non-binary people, they don't listen to trans people. They only want to listen to people who they admire, to people who they can aspire to be. And since they've been taught that all of us are lesser than, why would they even bother listening to us? They will hang off every oily word that Trump, Musk, Brandt, Peterson, Tate say, but they won't listen to the lived experiences of women, and if they even do, then they'll say, well, what about men? This means the fathers, the friends, the colleagues, the uncles, every male figure in people's lives, they need to step up and not just say, oh, boys will be boys. And these issues are alive and kicking in schools, as is discussed in Laura Bates' book, Fix the System, Not the Women. Almost 80% of girls say sexual assault happens sometimes or a lot between people their age at secondary schools. 90% say that unsolicited dick pics happen to them or their peers sometimes or a lot. 92% described recurrent sexist name-calling. 3/4 of girls report that pressure to provide sexual images of themselves happens sometimes or a lot, and over 70% say the images they sent were shared more widely. Almost 60% reported being photographed or videoed without consent. Ofsted inspectors carrying out an inquiry into harassment in schools in 2021 were told by pupils that sexual harassment has become completely normal, such a routine part of girls' daily lives that they don't see any point in challenging or reporting it. See what I mean? It's like we've gone backwards. This normalization of misogyny to the point of, well, what's the point of me even reporting it? It will just make him angry and nothing's going to happen anyway. We are teaching this to children. We are teaching this to young girls. They have become so beaten down that they are just accepting this. And then they're going to go on to workplaces, they're going to get into relationships, deal with harassment, deal with all of this stuff, and they'll just already be shutting up about it. This is so dangerous. This is only going to hurt people more. This is not normal. It's not okay.
Stress management meditation with Dr. Amrita. Yeah, you need this. Yeah, you need to sort your shit out. You've got issues.
Simply put, this is a men's issue. People have been worried about male violence and the impacts from external factors on what masculinity really is and should be for so many years. And it's not just women who have been ringing these alarm bells. Last century, in 1999, Jackson Katz came out with a documentary Tough Guys, which is sadly still quite applicable today. But things have indeed gotten worse as these messages are more targeted towards individuals. The journey isn't so much of a collective anymore as it's not based on the same movies and TV shows and stuff. This is based on individual algorithms showing people many different creators who are spouting this stuff. It's much more personal and private and driven up far more by algorithms. There is a lot more money to be made in the right-wing space than there is in the left-wing space. And we'll be talking more about that next time as well. Jackson Katz's TED Talk is from 11 years ago and it is so important. Like, I wanted to just clip the whole thing and include it here. I will include it at the very top of the description box. How about that? Like, go and watch that straight afterwards.
As if men don't have a gender. This is one of the ways that dominant systems maintain and reproduce themselves, which is to say the dominant group is rarely challenged to even think about its dominance, because that's one of the key characteristics of power and privilege, the ability to go unexamined, lacking introspection, and in fact being rendered invisible in large measure in the discourse about issues that are primarily about us. And this is amazing how this works in domestic and how men have been largely erased from so much of the conversation about a subject that is centrally about men.
Also written some books, and reading through the Macho paradox, there was almost too much that I wanted to quote. Traditionally, the word macho carried many positive associations. To be macho was to be well respected, embodying traits such as courage, valor, honor, sincerity, pride, humility, and responsibility. And it's important to note that the origins of the word have been completely twisted and warped due to colonial exploitation of Latin America. And the term macho has changed over time to be negative, to be brutish. If you are a man, it is a lot easier to be sexist and abusive towards women, or remain silent in the face of other men's abuse, than it is to speak out against sexism. It is ironic that men who speak out against men's violence against women are often called wimps, when they actually have to be more self-confident and secure than men who remain silent in order to fit in and be one of the guys. This, a macho man, with its original Spanish meaning, would have the courage to take responsibility for controlling sexist or violent behavior in the community. And we see this too, right? During Jackson Katz's 30-plus year career doing all of this work, he has been called every single slur under the sun, from a virtue signaling to a beta male, as he talks about in this Guardian interview. Yet this is also a guy who met masculinity standards. He was a star football player in high school. He gives talk to military, he's handled many a rowdy crowd situation, but I'm positive that there'll be guys in the comment section down below, give it 48 hours, who will be calling him some sort of beta, who'll be calling him all sorts of names. Emotional connection and quality time mean nothing by manosphere standards. Yet friendship and community is one of the keys to happiness. I'm so convinced that straight single men are sad is because of this homophobia around hanging out with guys and like talking about feelings and talking about all sorts of stuff. Like, you don't have those sorts of opportunities. You get to go to a sports game and like rah and get all angry and like cheer and stuff. Like, that's one outlet. Or you get to, I don't know, go out in nature, but only in order to kill something, or go out in nature in order to be able to, like, well, pollute the planet with golf courses, but then just hit a ball around and drink. But you don't talk about anything real. You maybe talk about business, who you're banging, but that's really it. Whereas for the girlies, we get to have a good time doing whatever the hell we want. Like, my friend came over the other day and we were baking cookies and gossiping about like all sorts to do with the world, as I talked about on my Instagram stories. And yes, I'll leave the recipe for you down below because it's really good. I just swapped out the flour for the Woolworths brand gluten-free flour. So good. But why is it that friendship is seen as not important and not valuable? If guys are so worried about this loneliness crisis, do something about it. Build those friendships, build those communities. And I don't just mean in the manosphere spaces where all you're doing is like tearing each other down and hating on women. I mean, get some sort of decent hobby. I've said time and again that you can't get all of your emotional support from your romantic partner, because no one should aim for that. Like, we all need to be part of a community. That's how all of us thrive together. Violence against women, from the subtle to the homicidal, is disturbingly common. It's normal, and precisely because the mistreatment of women is such a pervasive characteristic of our patriarchal culture, most men, to a greater or lesser extent, have played a role in its perpetuation. This gives us a strong incentive to avert our eyes. The Macho paradox. And as one of my favourite books of all time, The Will to Change by Bell Hooks says, no one talks about the patriarchal notions of play and teaching boys that it's their nature to kill, then teaching them that they can do nothing to change their nature, nothing that is, that will leave their masculinity intact. So if the manosphere is actually about self-betterment, something which I think, we can all get behind, because I absolutely think that's a good thing, then why does so much of it hinge on pushing others below them? How is it bettering anyone to bully others? How is it bettering anyone to say that they're low value? It's not, and you know it. The only things it does is 1. Build your feelings of resentment, and 2. Validate your worst impulses. It's more becoming like the Patrick Bateman type of character, which is, it's not a character you want to be. The whole movie is meant to be a satire. And sadly, seeing these manipulative men as caring about you because men haven't been allowed to express kind emotions to each other for generation after generation. They don't feel comfortable doing that. They don't know how to do it. Though like I've said before, I know many fathers who are really good at that. Like people who are my age who are fathers, people who are older than me who are fathers. I've worked with them. I know them. Like they're in my family as well. Not my family, Brandon's family. All these dudes in this manosphere space are doing is milking you for money. And they're hurting you in the long run because they're ruining your romantic and friendship relationships. And I know that there's going to be some men saying, oh, but women don't want like soft men. Women want alpha males, blah, blah, blah. When you'll watch this video about male yearning, the message of which just went over so many people's heads, yeah, I could indeed do a video because I've been thinking of one, especially from watching Maths Australia, because there's one woman in particular, I think that you know who I'm referencing, that do say that they want these alpha males. I feel like we should do a video about that. But also, why would you want to be with a woman that wants an alpha male? People that say alpha male, unironically, red flag.
Oh, this is so on brand for you. To be a victim of your own decisions.
If women pose an immediate threat to all men, is the threat in the room with us? Is it me? And how come all men is allowed to be used in this context but not in every other case? Huh? And genuinely, men, you're a greater threat to each other, and we're going to be getting more into that next time. The thing is, none of this violence towards women and girls is new, none of this stamping out of emotions of boys is new. What is new is this gleeful embrace of it. This sick, we can do what we want, and what we want is violence. We can make the jokes now, we can make the racist jokes now, because there's no consequences now. It's that which I find deeply disturbing. Kids don't just turn out like this. This is because of a sexist, racist, homophobic society. This is a result of generations of violence against women not being taken seriously. It's not just because of the manosphere, because the manosphere wouldn't be able to flourish if this wasn't so prevalent throughout society. It wouldn't even stand a chance if people didn't already subscribe to a lot of these beliefs. For the parents and caregivers out there, because I need to give you all some hope now, don't I? There is this amazing TikTok which I'll link for you down below. I don't want to include it in its entirety here, but you should really go check it out, and all of their work on there is a guide on how to de-red pill your kids, on having these conversations with your kids.
Come at it from a place of, okay, I want to know why you feel this way, and then let's expand on it. So when I started, getting him to be like, oh, well, maybe that guy's insecure, maybe he's insecure about his own body and like what he can give to her, like, and if she's had other people, then obviously he's got to try and measure up, and we would go through that, and it was uncomfortable sometimes, but we would speak about it anyway, and now we talk about pretty much anything, and he still comes to me with that content, and we will still like dissect why a man feels that way, or even a woman, like when Pearl, whatever her name is, comes up, we'll have a conversation about her as well.
And one of the key things that parents and caregivers need to do is have open conversations with your kids. And I don't mean in a judgmental way, because, I can be a bit judgmental on these videos, but I'm addressing adults here. I'm not dealing with like little ones. A couple of the books I'm going to be recommending to you. I will have obviously everything listed down below. I won't have them linked to Amazon stores or anything, but I'm going to please encourage you to shop at independent bookstores or to go to your local library, because libraries are really important. Local bookstores are really important. Y'all know what's going on with the economy, with tariffs and everything. Yeah, and I don't support Amazon anyway, so that's why I don't listen to stuff on Audible as well. The way that I read books typically is on audiobooks, so that's audiobooks, the app, or it's on Libby. That's how I subscribe to like my local libraries, and that's how I get a bunch of books as well. Obviously, Bell Hooks The Will to Change. You all knew that one was going to come up. She Is Not Your Rehab by Matt Brown with Sarah Brown, and just a tiny note about love languages in that one, like I've talked about, that has been debunked, but it can be a useful tool to get started on those conversations. But yeah, I've already talked about that in a video I made ages ago now. The Macho Paradox by Jackson Katz, fantastic book. Every Man, Why Violence Against Women is a Men's Issue by Jackson Katz. Again, I haven't read it personally, but I've read really good reviews. I've seen his work, and amazing toolkit. I'm thoroughly convinced of it. As soon as I can get my grubby little mitts on it, I'm gonna. Fix the System, Not the Women by Laura Bates. And if you want to know specifically about the manosphere, Men Who Hate Women by Laura Bates. And I know that I've gone clapback for it before, but I'm going to have on screen and listed down below for you a bunch of guys that myself, Brandon, and also patrons have raised to be like good guys to follow, like good, decent role models, or just good guys to watch on YouTube. These are guys who men and boys in your life can listen to and look up to. And I've tried to cover a bunch of different bases, personalities. Some people are quieter than others. Some people lean into more political stuff. Some people are definitely more geared towards older audiences. But yeah, there's a whole wide variety here, so hopefully this will be helpful for you as well. And I never say that anyone is perfect. I never expect anybody to be. I always believe that people can learn, change, and grow, you know. And so I'm not saying that all of these people are like, oh my goodness, bronze god or something level of perfection, because that's not true, because I know that I'm not perfect too. But what I'm saying is like these are like guys that I like to watch and you like to watch, like patrons do, and I just want to give people like some other people to watch rather than like the nonsense that Andrew Tate comes out with, you know. And I'll see you all next time for the link between the masculinity crisis and fascism, because my goodness, that is a strong link. And actually that's two more books I'm going to be referencing for that video. If you'd have told me 10 years ago that I'd be reading this much, I wouldn't have believed you, but audiobooks has just changed my life completely. And for you amazing people who have made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much, because YouTube honestly loves you for doing that, because that helps to show my video to other people, as well as commenting and liking, subscribing, sharing. But yeah, special thank you to you. And if you did make it all the way to the end, please leave the peacock emoji, because I was of course inspired by the manosphere with this, and from the pickup artistry stuff, like this is peacocking, right? It's recreating peacock kind of makeup? No? Did I get it wrong? Oh well, for some reason I don't listen to misogynists. I want to say thank you so much to all of my patrons as well, because like we have had a lot of discussions about this. They've been guiding me on what I should do, what I shouldn't do for this video. It's been really, really great, and I want to say an extra special thank you to my top tier Trash Panda enablers: Alyssa Pisani, Birgit, Kerry Quake, Danielle, Jam, Jem, Laura Bell, Megan Connolly, Michaela Garfinkel, Ella Gautier, Stella Sapiente, Tammy Poitras, Tim Long, Tonya Beignet, and Veru Cat Mama. I'm really looking forward to making my next video, but for now, I think I've been filming for how many hours? 3. Let's see how much I can trim this down, huh? Whoops, this was meant to be half an hour. Ugh, why do I keep doing this? Plus, I really need a cup of tea. I'm actually really thirsty. But yeah, I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. Oh, look, Molly. Look, Molly. Please focus on my face. My adolescence video, I did say... I'm just stating facts. I shouldn't do that. There's a millennial in me wanting to have this.